Welcome to Cheater Confessions. Let's get started with today's story. I knew something was wrong the moment Jade stepped through the door, not because of anything she said, but because of how quiet she was. Jade was never quiet. She filled every room she entered, talking, laughing, demanding attention without even trying. But that night, after the wedding she'd been so excited to attend, she walked in like someone expecting a sentence, not a welcome. She didn't hug me. She didn't even look at me. She just placed her purse on the table and held a sealed white envelope like it was burning through her fingers. "Michael," she said, voice thin and uneven. "We should talk." I looked at the envelope. A private testing clinic, the kind people use when they don't want questions. "What's that?" I asked. She swallowed. I had a test done this morning. Something felt off after the weekend. The doctor said it's probably a mix-up, but I should show you. Probably. That word already set off alarms. She slid the envelope toward me but didn't open it. She waited for me to touch it first, like she wanted me to own whatever was inside. "Go ahead," I said. Her hand shook as she tore it open. When she unfolded the paper, her eyes went glossy, like she was about to cry, but couldn't decide if that would help her or make things worse. "It says I tested positive for something," she whispered. "But it doesn't make sense. You know I'd never, unless you've—" She stopped there, letting the insinuation hang in the air like smoke. "You're suggesting I gave you this?" I asked. She flinched but didn't back down. "I'm just saying, you've been busy, distracted. People make mistakes without realizing." It was a weak attempt to flip the situation, but Jade always tried to control the narrative, even when the truth was sitting right there in bold black ink. I stayed calm. "I'll get tested tonight." Her eyes widened. Panic, not concern. "You don't need to rush. The doctor said it could be wrong. These clinics mix things up all the time." "I'll feel better knowing," I said. What I didn't tell her was simple. There was no scenario where that result came from me. Not with how distant we'd been. Not with how little she'd contacted me during the wedding trip. And as I left the house with my keys in hand, I already knew this wasn't a medical problem. It was the beginning of something else, something much darker. The clinic parking lot was almost empty when I walked out with the test receipt in my hand. I wasn't anxious. I wasn't confused. I was simply putting pieces together that suddenly made sense. During the wedding weekend, Jade barely texted me, just 2 messages in 3 days. The first said, "Long day? I'm exhausted." The second came late at night. "Don't wait up. The girls want to hang out." No photos, no stories, no cute comments about the bride. Nothing like how she usually acted when she was with her friends. I didn't push her then because I didn't want to be the suspicious husband. But now, looking at that clinic envelope in my memory, I wished I had questioned it. When I got home, Jade was sitting on the couch pretending to watch TV. Her posture was stiff, her eyes jumping to me every few seconds. "Did you go?" she asked. "I did," I said. "Results will come tomorrow." She swallowed hard. "You know, if something comes back positive for you too, we should think about counseling. I'm willing to forgive, Michael. If you're honest, forgive me." For something she brought home. I didn't argue. I didn't even look at her. I just nodded and headed upstairs. Once the bedroom door closed behind me, I grabbed my laptop and logged into our shared phone account. I never checked it before. I trusted her. But tonight, trust wasn't on the table. I filtered the activity from the wedding weekend. And there it was. Dozens of calls, hundreds of texts, all to the same unknown number. The timestamps were brutal. 1 a.m., 2:15 a.m., 3:40 a.m., times Jade claimed she was sleeping off a long day. I clicked the number. No name, no label. Just a thread of activity that made her entire story impossible. My chest didn't tighten. My hands didn't shake. I felt nothing but clarity. Jade lied. The STD wasn't a mistake, and whoever owned that number had been with her that weekend. The next morning, Jade acted like nothing had happened. She hummed while making coffee, asked if I wanted breakfast, even gave me a quick kiss on the cheek, something she hadn't done in months. Performative normal. I watched her move around the kitchen with the same energy she used to bluff her way through tough conversations. She thought the situation was under control. She thought blaming me had bought her time. It didn't. While she showered, I walked into our bedroom and opened her gym bag. I wasn't digging for secrets. I was looking for confirmation. And it didn't take long. At the bottom of the bag, wrapped in a pair of leggings, was a second phone. Not her main phone, not a work device, a hidden one. My hands didn't hesitate. I powered it on. No password. That told me everything I needed to know. Messages filled the screen instantly. The first one was from an unsaved number. Last night was worth the risk. Wish we had more time alone. I scrolled. More messages, more late-night calls, more hotel room references. Then a line that stopped me cold. Did you get tested? I'm worried about what happened after the reception. Not a lab mix-up. Not a misunderstanding. Not stress. Truth. The contact list revealed the name behind the number, Anthony Miller. I actually said his name out loud. Anthony. Married to Olivia. Someone I'd shaken hands with at previous weddings. Someone Jade pretended to barely know. The messages showed otherwise. Photos. Plans. A video she sent him from her hotel bathroom, smiling in a way she hadn't smiled at me in a long time. I placed everything back exactly how I found it. I didn't confront her. Not yet. A confrontation without leverage is just noise, and Jade was an expert at twisting noise into confusion. I needed someone who deserved to know as much as I did. Anthony's wife. I didn't call her right away. I waited until Jade left for her errands. Only when the door shut behind her did I pick up my phone and search for Olivia's number. I found it quickly. I stared at it for a moment, considering what this call would destroy. Then I pressed dial. Olivia answered on the third ring. Her voice was soft, cautious, the tone of someone who wasn't used to receiving calls from me. Hi, Olivia. It's Michael, Jade's husband. A pause. I could almost hear her shift in her seat. Is everything okay? No, I said. And I don't want to explain this over the phone. I need to talk to you. In person. Another pause, longer this time. She picked up on the seriousness right away. Where? We agreed on a cafe near her office about an hour later. When I walked in, she was already there, sitting at a corner table, hands wrapped around a coffee cup she hadn't touched. She looked up when I approached, eyes worried, expecting bad news but not knowing the shape of it. Thanks for meeting me, I said. She nodded. You sounded urgent. I pulled out my folder. I didn't dump everything on the table. I didn't want to overwhelm her. I started with the simplest part, the phone logs. I slid the page forward. She leaned in, scanned the numbers and timestamps, and I watched the color drain from her face. That's Anthony's number, she whispered. There was no shock in her voice, just the hollow recognition of something she had already felt but couldn't prove. She blinked rapidly, looking at the pages as if they might rearrange into something less painful. Is there more? She asked. Yes. I opened the folder again and set down a few printed messages from the hidden phone. Not the worst ones, just enough to remove any doubts. Her fingers trembled as she read. He told me he barely talked to anyone at that wedding. She exhaled shakily. I knew something was wrong. I just didn't know. I waited, let her process. When she finally spoke again, her voice cracked. What else did you find? I told her about the positive test Jade brought home. Olivia went still, absolutely still. Then she looked up at me slowly, like the room had tilted. Positive? She asked. Yes. And you? Negative, I said. I got tested. For a moment, she didn't breathe. When she spoke again, her words were cold, steady, and sharp. We're confronting them, she said, and I'm reading that result out loud. I nodded once. We didn't need to discuss it further. That afternoon, I told Jade we'd been invited to dinner with friends. Just a small catch-up. She didn't question it. In fact, she seemed relieved, almost eager. Should I wear the new dress? She asked. That's fine, I said. She smiled too quickly. Guilt makes people overcompensate. I booked a private room at a quiet restaurant, the kind of place where conversations stay inside four walls. I arrived with Jade first. She looked excited, even glowing, like the dinner was some fresh start she imagined we needed. So, who's coming? Jade asked, checking her reflection in her spoon. 2 people, I said. You'll see. Before she could question the tone, the door opened. Anthony stepped inside. He froze the second he saw me. Jade's smile collapsed. She straightened in her chair, eyes darting between us like she was trying to calculate an escape. Michael, Jade, Anthony said, voice tight. Didn't expect. The door closed again. Olivia walked in. She didn't slam it. She didn't raise her voice. She just stepped inside. Jade's face drained instantly. "What is this?" she whispered. Olivia didn't sit. She placed her bag on the table, unzipped it, and pulled out the envelope. The clinic report Jade handed me 2 nights earlier. "Let's get to the point," Olivia said, opening it. "This belongs to you, Jade." Jade shook her head. "You don't understand." Olivia began reading. Every line, every medical term, every date, every confirmation note. Slow, unshakable, word for word. Anthony's jaw clenched so hard I could see the muscle twitch. Jade's hands pressed flat against the table like she might pass out. When Olivia finished, she placed the result in front of Jade like evidence on a courtroom bench. Jade whispered, "It was a mistake. They mixed it up. I didn't." I took out my own paper and set it beside hers. My negative result. Silence hit the room like a brick wall. Jade stared at it, lips parting, no words forming. Then Olivia placed the next stack on the table. Printouts of messages from the hidden phone. The late-night calls, the hotel discussions, the worth the risk text. Anthony lowered his head. Jade looked at me, eyes wide, voice breaking. "Michael, please, we can talk about this." I stood. "We already are." The drive home felt like a long, empty tunnel. Jade sat stiff in the passenger seat, hands twisted in her lap, breathing in short, uneven bursts. She didn't speak until we pulled into the driveway. "Michael, please. That wasn't fair." Her voice cracked. "You ambushed me. You brought the evidence home yourself." She wiped her eyes, angry at the tears. "It wasn't what you think. Anthony was drunk. I was emotional. It was a mistake. One night. That's all." "I saw the timestamps," I said. "It wasn't one night." She flinched, like the truth physically hit her. Inside the house, she followed me from room to room, words spilling out in different directions, apologies, excuses, sudden bursts of anger. "I felt lonely, Michael. You've been distant. We weren't connecting anymore. It didn't mean anything. You can't throw our marriage away over this. You don't understand how much pressure I've been under. It only happened because I was drunk. It didn't happen the way it looked. You should at least listen to me." Every sentence contradicted the last. I pulled a suitcase from the closet and set it on the bed. Jade's face crumpled. "You're leaving?" she whispered. "For now." She grabbed my arm. "Please don't do this. We can fix it. We can go to therapy. We can start over. I'll do whatever you want." The problem was simple. She wasn't sorry for what she did. She was sorry she got caught. "I already spoke to an attorney," I said. "I'm filing tomorrow." Her grip loosened instantly. "What? No, Michael, don't. We can work through this." "We can't," I said. "Not with the lying, not with how far it went, not with how you tried to blame me." She sank onto the edge of the bed, head in her hands. Her shoulders shook, but I couldn't tell if it was sadness or panic. Downstairs, I zipped my bag. Jade stood at the bottom of the steps, mascara streaked, voice small. "I never thought you'd actually leave." I looked at her calmly. "You ended this. I'm just finishing it." I walked out the front door while her pleas followed me into the night. I filed the next morning. No hesitation, no second guessing. The paperwork was straightforward because I had already protected what mattered: separate savings, my own accounts, and documents she never bothered to ask about. Jade always assumed she had control, so she never imagined I planned ahead. My phone buzzed all afternoon. 10 missed calls, 5 long messages, 4 short ones, all from her. "Please come home. We can fix this." It wasn't real. He didn't mean anything. "You're destroying our marriage." The tone changed every hour, begging, blaming, apologizing, then attacking. But it didn't move me. I'd already seen the truth in that restaurant. I'd watched her lover shrink into his seat. I'd heard Olivia's voice echoing through the room as she read Jade's test result line by line. There was no more story to twist. By the end of the week, word had spread through Jade's friend circle. People she called sisters suddenly grew distant. A few of them stopped replying to her completely. Her closest friend, Lily, told me privately that Jade had lied to all of them about the wedding weekend. None of the girls she claimed to be out with had even been near her hotel at the time. Her family tried to reach out, too, mostly confused, some angry. She told them I was overreacting. They asked me what really happened. I sent 2 documents, her test result and mine. That ended the calls. Meanwhile, Olivia moved quickly. She served Anthony with papers 2 days after our confrontation. According to her message, he packed a small suitcase and left the house without a word. A few months later, I walked out of the courthouse with the finalized divorce papers in a simple manila folder. No celebration, no anger, just a steady, clean feeling, like breathing fresh air after being stuck in a room with no windows. The judge looked at both of us before signing. Jade couldn't meet my eyes. She looked smaller than I'd ever seen her, shoulders tight, voice barely a whisper, makeup failing to hide the strain around her eyes. She didn't say anything to me in the hallway after. She just stood there with her arms wrapped around herself, like holding on to her own body was the only thing keeping her steady. Our lawyers kept it efficient. Since my finances had been separated for years, there was nothing dramatic to divide. She didn't get the house, she didn't get the investments, and she couldn't touch the savings she didn't know existed. That reality hit her harder than the divorce itself. She sent one last message the day after everything became official. "I didn't think you'd actually go through with it." I didn't respond. Meanwhile, Olivia and I exchanged a few updates. Not emotional ones, just logistics. She told me Anthony moved into a cheap apartment across town and hadn't tried to fight the divorce. She sounded tired but solid, like someone rebuilding from the ground up with both feet planted firmly. Jade wasn't rebuilding. She was unraveling. Her social circle shrank. People who used to hype her up online stopped liking her posts. At one point, Lily, her former best friend, called me. "She's not handling any of this well," she said. I don't know what she expected. I didn't answer. There was nothing to say. In the evenings, I'd sit in my new place, small, quiet, and think about the night Jade came home from that wedding with a clinic envelope she tried to use like a shield. She thought it would protect her. She thought it would confuse me. She thought it would buy her time. Instead, it exposed everything. People can hide actions. They can hide conversations. They can hide second phones. But they can't hide patterns. They can't hide timelines. And they definitely can't hide the truth when someone else is willing to read it out loud. The story didn't end with revenge. It ended with clarity. And clarity was the freedom I didn't know I needed. Thank you for watching.